Hey everybody, Alex from Android Central here with a quick look at a new Sony phone, the Xperia P. So we've already reviewed the Xperia S and Xperia U, Sony's high-end and low-end phones in this series, and the Xperia P sits between these two devices. It's a mid-range Sony phone in its new Xperia Next range, and Sony's really stepped up the game when it comes to build quality in this phone. Parts of it are plastic, but mostly you've just got this aluminum chassis which feels really nice in the hand. And the design here is going to be familiar to anyone who's seen either of those two other phones. There's still this clear element down the bottom which houses the phone's capacitive keys. And along the right edge you've got buttons for power, volume rocker and a dedicated camera button. At top there's the usual 3.5mm headphone jack, and along the left edge are the micro USB and micro HDMI ports, along with a clip out area here for your micro SIM slot. So it uses a metal unibody and there's no removable battery and storage because of that, though the Xperia P does come with 16 gigs of built-in storage, which I think is perfectly fine for this kind of phone. Camera wise, we've got a 1.3 megapixel front facer on here and an 8 megapixel Sony Xperia P rear shooter with LED flash, and we've got some sample shots and footage from this in our review. On the front we've got a 4-inch QHD Sony reality display with Sony's new white magic tech, and that's designed to improve daylight visibility by adding an extra subpixel. We'll have more details of exactly what that means in the review. And being a Sony phone, you also get the Bravia engine software, which improves image quality in photos and videos. So the overall result is a fantastic looking screen here on this QHD display, really clear and vivid, and with some pretty good viewing angles too. Now we're done with hardware, let's unlock the phone and take a look at the software. Once again, it's another Sony phone running Gingerbread, just like the Xperia S and the Xperia U. The Xperia P runs Android 2.3 out the box, which is disappointing when we're just days away from seeing the next version of Android. Of course, an update to ICS is promised, but at the moment we'll have to review this phone as it is on Gingerbread. Anyway, on the whole, if you've seen our reviews of the other Xperia phones, there's not going to be too much to surprise you here on the Xperia P. It's the same UI and the same collection of apps, only on a different screen. And that means you've got the usual Sony theming system, which works pretty nicely as we'll see here. You get the built-in social integration through Timescape, and media streaming through Video Unlimited and Music Unlimited. One Sony feature you won't be enjoying in the Xperia P though is PlayStation support, as like the Xperia U, the app for playing PlayStation games here isn't included. One bonus feature you do get on the Xperia P is Nfc support for automating tasks through Sony's proprietary smart tag system. And the way you do this is through the launcher. You select this smart tags widget here and you'll see all the stuff you can automate. Unfortunately, unlike the Xperia S, there are none of these tags included with the device. You need to buy these from Sony if you want to use this feature. In any case, when the ICS update arrives, we'd expect this phone to be able to use the Android Beam feature. But for the moment you're limited by Gingerbread, and that means you get the same rapidly aging Google apps from Android 2.3. So there's the old Gmail app that we can see here, you also get the old calendar app, the old browser and so on. And if we dip into the browser more here, we can see that there's a fairly big difference in terms of performance when you compare it to an ICS phone. I wouldn't call it slow, but there's certainly a gap in terms of responsiveness when you compare it to ICS running on similar hardware. And loading up Android Central here, you can see the page renders fairly quickly, but the process of scrolling around the page and zooming in and out is just a little bit laggy here. And that's due to software, not hardware, as the Xperia P's internals are actually relatively speedy. You've got a dual-core 1GHz ST Ericsson Nova Thor chip in here, backed up by a gig of RAM, so it's by no means a slow device. Unfortunately, despite the internal hardware and the build quality, which we really like, the user experience on this phone is going to be let down severely by the presence of Gingerbread. And we're sure that anyone picking up an Xperia P will be crossing their fingers for a speedy update to ICS. So there's nothing wrong with the Xperia P that can't be fixed through software. Camera quality is good, we've been really impressed by the screen and Sony's white magic tech, but until that crucial update arrives, just be aware that we'll be running a version of Android that's more than a year and a half old at this point. Anyway, there you go, very quick look at the Xperia P from Sony. Thanks for watching.